All right. Testing, testing.
Yes, I think we're officially live across multiple social media platforms. I know we
Yep.
have a few people that said they're going to join on LinkedIn, and I shared it on my Instagram and my Facebook. So I think in a couple minutes, we'll probably be getting some people joining us.
Okay. Sounds good.
Are you excited for your first podcast?
Yeah, this is a long time coming, so it's
Yeah, I
good.
saw when you announced it, it was quite the buzz. A lot of people were really excited and
Yeah.
wanting to join.
Yeah, I was excited with the engagement. There was a number of people that reached out and said they'd love to talk, so they'll be on the future episodes coming in the next weeks. I think with the amount of people and the amount of interest, we'll probably have maybe even 2 episodes a week. So
Wow, that's
yeah,
awesome. How long ago did you decide you wanted to start podcasting?
I've been talking about it here and there for a number of months, but just never kind of came together. But now, I've been really getting more involved with just building community and networking in the agency space, and also with our Amazon agency kind of expanding, its wings and kind of doing other things outside of Amazon. Just kind of was the right step, I think. So
Yeah,
here we
that's
are.
awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being the first. So we got 2 more minutes here, and then we'll get started.
Okay, sounds good.
Tori saying we're all good.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So what part of Florida are you in?
So I'm actually born and raised from Miami, and I've lived
Mm,
in all different parts. I actually recently, well, not recently, during COVID times, decided to buy a place before they started building it. So it was going to be done summer 2023, but they're still building it now. So that's like in downtown Miami. And I still feel like I'm a bit of a digital nomad because I I find Miami to be home base, but I've lived in New York, Chicago. This summer we spent in Montreal. And the
mm.
reason we pulled the trigger on this place is that it's going to be run like an Airbnb. So it's a place where we can call home base and be in Miami in like winter, but we can also kind of hop around and not be just in one place. So,
Yeah, I feel like that's the digital nomad way right now, right? You secure a spot that's home base, you feel good about it,
right.
but it's also like you can be a stream of income while you just do whatever, especially if you're going places which are not so expensive. Like most of America is pretty expensive, but then once you travel out like into Europe or Asia, you're like, wow, like
Yeah. One of our first trips, we went to Buenos Aires for like a month and we just loved it and we did Montreal a lot as well and it's the same time zone so it's really easy, really fun and I
hmm.
love that we get to work online and have that option. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's a lot of people are switching to that lifestyle, right? But it's good to get a head start because like you've been doing it for a while, so now we get to enjoy the fruits of that labor, right? The
yes,
beginnings are not so easy.
definitely. Yeah.
Okay, looks like we're
Hi.
at 1 o'clock,
Yes.
so we can get started.
Sure.
I'm sure people will join in. It doesn't look like through the system anyone has joined yet, but we can just kind of get going.
Sure.
So um, let me start with the official intro. Here we go.
Awesome.
Awesome. So yeah, very excited. This is the first episode of the Agency Operators podcast. Really happy to have you here, Stephanie Lichtenstein. Uh,
Yes.
15 years in social media, been through a lot, seen the internet change before your eyes. Also, the name is the social media maven, right? I know that's one of the aliases you go by. So
Oh,
uh,
thank you.
thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on your podcast. The very first episode, it's going to be really cool to see different agency operators and how they've run their businesses and all their stories. Definitely excited to be here. And yeah, as you said, I've been in the social media space for 15 years, which in social is like in dog years is a really, really long time to be on the social media side. I'm really lucky I got into it really early on. Um, if you want to hear, I don't know if you can hear a little bit of the background of how I got into it.
Yeah, yeah. Like share, go. We have some time, so go early on. Kind of why you got started in digital
Yeah,
marketing, especially what was it, 2009? It wasn't like the most popular thing, and I think the way that the internet was and social media was is very different than it is today. It's not,
yeah.
right now like algorithms have gotten so advanced and everything. Back in those days, I mean, I think I was just like MySpace and maybe some Facebook, right? So
Okay.
yeah. So how did that happen?
So actually, going back to 2007, I had graduated from college and I was getting into my very first job. I did a very short stint in corporate America, which was in marketing, but I quickly realized that I did not want to be a number. I only lasted 2 months in corporate America in a little town in Florida, in Lakeland, Florida. And I would get really dressed up and go to this place, and I was one of like 2,000, and I just didn't belong in that place. And when I went back to Miami, which is where I'm from, I was on the hunt for what I was really going to be doing with my life. And my background was really in marketing, but I came across a place that was promoting things about online marketing. So I just read a little, like, literally I had my resume and I read in their window, it said online marketing, web design, SEO, PPC. Social was not one of the things that they were offering. So this was an agency. It was a family owned agency that I walked in and I asked them to hire me, and they were really early on. They had opened the office. They were actually mainly in affiliate marketing. So I got to learn a lot from that agency. They focused on affiliate marketing, website design, SEO, PPC, email marketing. And I started using social media as a tool for their clients. And I was saying, hey, why don't we offer this to them as a service? Um, Even on the affiliate marketing side, a lot of affiliates were really savvy online, and a lot of the ways that we were communicating was through Twitter. And back then there was LinkedIn and Facebook, and a lot of the other platforms were not around. And it was just a great tool of marketing and communication. So I ended up opening a social media department for them, and I grew a big passion for social media. And then I had the chance to go live in New York, which is where you are,
Yeah.
Pasha. I love New York so much. It's such a contagious place for dreamers and entrepreneurs. So I had the chance to go to New York. And when I had that chance, I decided to go on my own, but I didn't want to focus on every type of service under the sun. And I wasn't passionate about building websites. And I really just wanted to focus on the social media side. So through working with that company for a couple of years and building a lot of connections, and really focusing on, they worked with a lot of e-commerce brands, focusing on that side of things, but really focusing on the social media side. I started with a couple clients here and there, a couple small projects, and then I realized I was able to focus just on social media, which was my passion, and go from there.
Cool. So, like with the affiliate stuff, I mean, like in those days, what were people really using affiliate marketing for? Well, it was service based, product based. Like, what was your involvement at that point?
So I was actually an affiliate manager. So we had brands in skincare. So like Mario Badescu, who's still a really big brand to this day. I see him, globally, and he worked with a lot of celebrities. So we were able to work with affiliates, which is really interesting because on the social media side, we've gotten a lot into the influencer space, and there's so much of it that kind of ties in to that side, and that's similar. So a lot of what I learned in affiliate marketing is now tying into social media. and the influencer space. But really, when we're working with brands like that, we were really looking for affiliates that were writing, and that in those days it wasn't video, it was writing blogs, and writing blogs that were about skincare and about like healthcare and beauty, and getting them to put up our links. And really, a lot of the times when we would build out these programs, we would notice, and it's similar with influencers, that it was kind of like the 80-20 rule, that really the top like 20% was really performing and driving sales. And they were getting good commissions, and we would build out good relationships with them. But a lot of what we were doing was, in those days, was in working with bloggers, and even like mommy bloggers.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, the concept hasn't changed over the years, right? It's just that I think it became more accessible for people through technology and social media to be almost like an influencer is like a mini celebrity, essentially. So in those days, it's like the bigger celebrities are kind of more accessible to people that a lot of people would consume their content. But now it's just, kind of like a wide array, and anybody can become essentially like a mini celebrity with enough consistency. And so, yeah, I mean, I see that world just basically transfer over just with the added tech. Um, so all these systems are the same, and it's word of mouth, it's trust, it's relevancy, right? It's what people are kind of interested in, to trust somebody, to try something new, because there's always a ton of noise on the internet. You don't know who to trust, so you're looking for somebody to really give you their honest opinion. And now with video available, it's just easier than ever to really convey that message, right? Back in the day, it was just like a blog post, and then people would click and buy, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, some of it has kind of remained the same, but then other things like video have definitely changed. But what's most important is that you're finding people that are really authentically interested in your brand and talking about it. And a lot of the ways that we would find these people is also by listening. So a lot of brands, they post on social, and it might be very one-sided, but on the other side you can join the conversation and kind of dig deeper into your community, into what's going on related to your brand, whether you're in social or you're in affiliate. There's a lot of organic conversations going on behind the scenes that are really interesting, that you can join as a content creator, as a brand, and be a part of. And then you can find people that are really already having these conversations about you, and then you can join those conversations, bring them value, and be a part of that community online. And that's something that's really powerful, that has been for the last 15 years. And back in the day, I even remember there were um, there were forums where people would have conversations and like promote their products. And it's very interesting how I would talk to all these people online, and then we would go to these conferences like Affiliate Summit, and we would see each other in person. We would spend all year, promoting things to each other on the internet, and then we would use social media to connect, and then we would finally see each other in person. But everything, was going on behind the screen. And but you felt like you really knew these people, and you really became a part of that community, and you built really nice long-term relationships with them.
So cool. Yeah, it's like, Reddit has centralized the forum thing, but
Oh
I
my
remember
gosh, Reddit, yes.
I yeah, but I remember forums being like, you just have like your particular niche, and you belong to this community, and you just like see each other on the boards, and people have scores and stuff like that. But yeah, like internet has not really changed. It's just the technology that keeps changing and making it more convenient. Or yeah. So you kind of in the beginning of your career, building up your agency, you were focused on stay-at-home moms, you were saying, right? So could you speak a little bit to that, and kind of how you started out with building your team, kind of going from being
Yes.
solo and kind of expanding
Yeah.
into, like, yeah, working with a group?
Definitely. So going back to when I started in New York, it was just me, myself, and I doing everything. So if I would be in a meeting, I would get out of the meeting, have to make sure that I posted content, and I was sending proposals. I was doing everything, a one-man show. But in New York, and luckily, at the age I was at and the people that I was meeting, it was just so energizing and so amazing, what everyone was doing. And at that time, I did have a background in e-commerce, and one of the bigger brands that I started working with was in bedding. So this bedding brand had, multiple lines and also would make bedding for famous brands like Vera Wang, Tommy Bahama, Tommy Hilfiger. So a lot of what we were looking for was going back to that authentic content, like who's really interested in these brands. And each of them had like their own personality. Like one was a bit younger and targeting people that loved pets, and one was more farmhouse themed, and we just had like different categories for each of the bedding lines. But one of the things we really needed was to find people that kind of fit those brands and really would love those brands. So one of the things we started doing was looking at mommy bloggers, not only to write content, but also in these days it wasn't video, but it was more so to capture some images and some content. So we were trying to get people to kind of redo their bedrooms with our bedding and style them in ways that they really liked, and then put together content around that. And what was kind of cool was we started building relationships with people that we would work with, not just a one-off. Even nowadays, it's like it's not really worth paying someone to post something once about you and then never see them again, and just have you be a little piece of a sea of content that they're posting. So we were really trying to find individuals that fit each of the brands, and then we would try to work with them ongoing long term. So we would work with them for years, but maybe every season that we were releasing a new line of bedding, we would have them refresh a bedroom, or during the holidays do like a guest bedroom. And then one thing that I noticed was that even though some of these individuals weren't as savvy on social media, but they were good content writers, I started thinking maybe I can actually work with some of these mommy bloggers a little more long term. So I asked one that I thought was an amazing content writer, and now she's a big influencer. I worked with her for a few years. I said, do you want to learn a little bit more about the social media side? And, would you be open to working on some projects with me? And she said yes, and worked with me for a few years, starting with the bedding brand and some other brands that we had. And she was an amazing content writer, an amazing mom. And these days, like, not everyone was working from home. So I'm like, oh, you can run your own schedule, and as long as we're getting content out, we'll do content, we'll do some outreach to other bloggers. We do reporting, but you can work from home. You have like certain set times that you need to be available, but it's pretty flexible. And she was one of my first hires, and she did an amazing job. And through her, I asked her if she had anyone she recommended, and I met other bloggers that she knew, and we would either work with them on other collaborations, or there was one that I ended up hiring as well. So I started finding that not only was my audience predominantly women, but also working with a team of women that understood that target audience did really well. Um, and my team has also been really reliable and amazing. So I don't know how how you can give someone to a busy person and they'll get it done. Like, I don't know. I personally don't have kids. Like, micro media is like my child, but it's amazing how these women are able to have like that work life balance. But I think they also really enjoy being able to make their own schedule, and have the flexibility to work from home. But I've been able to kind of turn that into a source for finding people to work with and creating a team that I can trust and grow with.
Great. It's a great match, right? And even the thing, I mean, I know that moms are the best when it comes to styling, right? So at the beginning, when you were given all that stuff to, style the bedroom and take the photos, and they're your, best source for that. So very cool. How has that transformed now? Like, so, has that kind of stayed the same? Are you working with the same team, or because 15 years is a long time? So
Yeah. So I've been really lucky. So um, Christina was one of the first mommy bloggers that I worked with, and she introduced me to Aaron. But everybody has worked with me long term for a few years. But I've even worked with some of my friends. So I have had, and there was a time where I had Christine, Christina, Christy, and everyone had like a similar name, which is pretty funny. But on our team, it's usually been like 6 to 10, depending on how many projects we have going on. And everyone, not only people that I work, like also on the client side and on the team side, we tend to be able to work with someone over the course of years, which I'm lucky to say that now because I realize that's not how things are all the time for people
Yeah.
nowadays. But generally, I would say I've been really lucky that over the course of the 15 years, I would say for the first year or two, I did a lot on my own, and it was a lot of work. It was extremely hard. And as I started to grow, I was able to bring a couple team members and then go from there. But I would say most people on average have stayed with me for at least like 5 years. And a lot of times, what happens, which is really cool, I have a couple of people even now that are on the influencer side too. A couple of them left because they grew so much as influencers that they were able to kind of go their way because of that. And sometimes there's people that have had, and not everyone that works for me is a mom, but everyone that works for me is a woman. But some people as well that they did have kids, and there was a certain time where they wanted to be home with their kids and then they wanted to go back into the workforce. So there might have been a few years that they worked for me when they wanted to work from home, and then after that, they might have gone. Like I have someone that's awesome that I also got to work with for a few years, and she was really passionate about not-for-profit work that she was doing in person. And then over time, she did go back to that. But most of the relationships that I've built have been through connections. So Christina was through the mommy blogger side, but a lot of the other people that I've hired, like you met and have worked with Tori, like I met her through
Mhm.
my best friend, and I've hired friends. So although it's a double-edged sword because I did have to let
Yeah.
go of a friend, but she understood it. But that's hard too. But I generally do hire people through connections, and for me, it's also like a willingness to learn and a good attitude because I really want someone that's going to be there for the long haul, that's going to really care, that's going to be reliable. It's not necessarily, and yes, I have hired people that are influencers or that have certain types of experience, but I look more at character and like excitement and the willingness to do the work because I can teach anyone how to do social media, but you can't really give someone the feeling of caring about what they're doing. And as you know, you're a business owner, no one's going to care about your business as much as you do, but it is so important that you work with people that care.
Yeah. Yeah. They care for the right reasons, absolutely. And I think that that's something that you kind of see it like right away. Like after some years of hiring, firing, and going through that painful process, especially if it's somebody that's your friend.
Yeah.
Um, After a while, like you just get a sense. It's not always about like what was your GPA, what college did you go to, and what company did you work for. It's really just like who are you as a person, what do you care about, and I think that's like the main driving force, and everything else is like learnable. Again, going back to the technology thing, like tools are so much easier to use now. You can pick up things very fast as long as you kind of have a sense of what's going on. You can learn pretty quickly, but you definitely can't pick up those kind of skills of paying attention and just giving it that extra love that it needs to really work. um, because what I'm seeing in e-commerce being primarily focused on Amazon and just looking at general D2C, how everything is trending, everything is about, like I was saying earlier, trust and relevance and connecting with people in a way that's really authentic. And so that does require like that human element. And there's all this rise of AI and stuff like that, and people are getting worried about it, but you'll never be able to replace that, and that is the most important thing. So it doesn't worry me. But anyhow, what were some of the challenges, I guess, that you face growing? Because there's all kinds of obstacles. You're mentioning that you're wearing many hats during this stage, and you start like kind of hiring and delegating, and that's making your work a little bit easier, I guess. But also you're changing as a leader and kind of getting more clients and having to being more responsible for a lot of other elements. So Did you run into any, big obstacles that kind of got in your way that you had to like overcome in order to make it to the next level?
I started realizing that if I wanted to grow, I needed to invest back into myself and my company because I got a lot of business through referral. But if I really wanted to take it to the next level and get bigger, I had to invest a bit more. So I invested into a big conference, which at the time I think I put in about $15,000, which at the time also felt very significant. But another thing I realized, and I love my accountant. I talked to him. He's he's amazing. I was talking to him about feeling frustrated as to wanting to get to the next step and feeling like we were kind of at the same level, but we wanted, we were growing and learning, but we wanted to thrive. And so he suggested that I do make that investment, and I did. But it wasn't just that; it was also the pricing that I was charging and elevating like the quality of everything that I was doing. So I realized that I needed to charge more for my worth and my time and my team's time, and that I could also hire out people at like a higher rate that had more experience in certain things because it was worth it. And in order to work with bigger clients and get to that level, that's something that we needed to do. So we did go to that conference and thankfully, got some great clients. It was an internet retailer conference in Chicago, and we really elevated the level of clients that we got. But then we also elevated some of the people that we brought on to work with us, and then we also elevated our pricing to match that. Like if we were going to give that kind of service, and if we were going to grow and work with bigger accounts, we needed to elevate everything and take it to the next level. So the not so fun thing about doing something like that is that it takes a while for it to pay off. So the conference took place at a certain time, the money was invested, but then it wasn't until like 6 to 8 months later did a lot of the companies start to, come on board because there were other things that they were doing at that conference. They might have been working on fixing things with their website first before they got into social. So social would usually come after that as a second phase. So it was being patient and knowing that, it was all worth it, but also giving it time because not everything closes immediately. So you kind of have to hold your breath and go, okay, I know this was a good decision, but it took a bit of time. But having the right team in place and investing a bit more, and then charging a bit more to match that was a decision that I had to make that I'm glad that I did make.
So you
And
saw a
then,
return on that.
oh yeah, a big time return on that. And I guess another thing, my parents, they're retired now, but they ran a business for over 35 years, and they were a great example to me. And obviously, I'm going to pay my team whether I get paid or not, right? So they're my responsibility. I did have a couple times where, and this is surprising because this is like even larger brands that I work with, and I'm not going to like name names, but what I realized is, sometimes they'll pay their vendors like much later than other people will. And I'm a small business, so I'm still paying my team like normally, whenever they're going to get paid. I did have a couple times where I had to kind of cover a lot of costs up front. But my parents always, taught me to kind of like save for a rainy day and like weather the storm. So I was prepared for things like that. And even though it was scary, thankfully, I eventually got paid. But as a small business, it's a little bit harder, and you have to be ready and prepared for things like that, which thank God I was, but it was still a bit stressful. So just knowing, I mean, especially as an owner and a leader, like just being ready for things like that and trying to be as responsible as you can for planning for things like that, and having good contracts in place, and um, being ready. Because I was surprised because it was bigger brands that you would think, oh, you know, they'll there will be no problem here. but sometimes it's harder to get through to the person that you need to talk to, and you go have to go through different layers of people to get to legal or to get to a financial department, and you don't have like a one-on-one person to talk to. So that's interesting, and I had to negotiate that with some clients as well and say, listen, I know you generally pay your vendors 90 days out, 60 days out, but I'm a small business, so like, I was able to negotiate different terms with some companies because it just wasn't feasible for to cover so many costs up front. So that's another thing that was an obstacle for sure.
That's I would find that to be the biggest obstacle in my journey as well, is the financial kind of cash flow aspect, where the company's making money, but it's like the day that you need to pay out is not necessarily the day that you get the invoices cleared.
Right.
And so I had to figure out some systems. The way that I'm doing it is through Stripe. You can have
Yeah.
some payment information saved, but it's not always the case, and they charge a bunch of fees. So I think the best is just to develop like a honest relationship with your client, right? And just kind of say like, listen, this is what it is, and we do a good work. So this is what we need, and I find that most people are very receptive to that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was lucky that I was able to come to an agreement because I couldn't just float so much money for so many months. So, yeah, most people are reasonable and will talk you through it, and if they like working with you, they'll come to some sort of an agreement. But yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. So I guess I do have a question, with all of this wisdom that you've attained through the years, what do you really see being the thing that works the best? Is it just like little bits here and there where, the strategy is to kind of, if you want to do social media, then you have to post everywhere and see what works best, and then just kind of like move your effort into that location? Or is it really just like no matter what the result is on what platform, you just put content out over and over again, and just you kind of measure the results and see things happening over time? Or is it like paid versus organic? Like, what do you really see being the main driver in 2024 for social media?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you said, like, to post on every platform and, things like that. So I always tell people that you don't need to be everywhere. You need to be, in the right places, and you need to be consistent. So first and foremost, instead of just getting up every day and going, I'm going to post something and see like what sticks. It's better to have a consistent plan, even if you can only really have 2 to 3 pieces of content a week that's quality over quantity. I would always prefer that. So you want to really come up with a strategy and a plan for what your content pillars are. So let's say you have 3, you could have 3 or you could have 5. It depends on, maybe how big your business is. And yes, you can post daily if you have enough going on and you can create enough content. Um, if not, I would rather you have quality over quantity and then be on the right platform. So instead of posting in 5 different places, if you were posting in 2 places, but really spending more time and you saw that your audience was active there, that's more important than trying to post a lot everywhere. Because there is a lot of noise. So,
Hmm.
how are you really going to stand out? First, you want to really show what makes you different and like what makes you special. So a lot of times I'll look at a company and see like, are you solving a problem? Or I'll also want to see like, what is your story? Like, why did you invent this product? What problem are you solving for people? So if you can give it a little bit more of a personal touch, and you can give a little more information as to what inspired you to sell this service or product, that's something that's going to resonate more with people. And then if you do have people that are already interested in talking about your brand, it's also that listening side. So, yes, get your consistent plan out there, get your content out there. But on the other side of it, what are people saying about your product? Um, and then are there people that are already just naturally drawn to your product? They're already talking about it and posting about it, because then you can get and share good user generated content, or you can go on the influencer side. That is a little bit touchy because I would not spend huge dollar amounts behind influencers in terms of just what we talked about, which is paying a large amount to just get one post. I would look at
Mhm.
more so building relationships with people that are already even talking about your product, and they have like a genuine interest in it, and then work with them to create, maybe create some content, and not just as a one-off. Can you do it monthly? Can you do it quarterly? Can you invite them in exclusively when you're launching something new and give them like a little bit of behind the scenes? But like having those relationships, even if you have them with 5 micro influencers or with 10, that's something that's going to help your brand as well, is having other people talk about it in an authentic way, and that's going to help to build that trust. With advertising, so obviously you want to see what you can do organically, and if you can have some video content being created, that's amazing, and you definitely should have that as a part of your strategy. With advertising, you can have a small ad campaign on social media, whether you're targeting people B2B on LinkedIn, whether you're targeting people more so like on Instagram or Pinterest. You don't have to have a huge dollar spend to make an impact on social media. I mean, you can spend $500 a month or $1,000 a month, and you can see fairly quickly what's working. But really, I wouldn't just put things out there and like run an ad. I would look at like what's the best content that really is telling my story, or someone that's really talking authentically about my brand in 5 to 15 seconds that's going to resonate well with my audience. And I always would try to run video content that gets to that point as an ad, but you can do it with a small budget. I mean, you can even spend $10 a day. So there you're spending $300, let's say, on Instagram. And you can reach your audience pretty well, and you can see really quickly what's working, what's not. Um, I usually let everything like that's posted content wise be organic, and then once or twice a week we can pick a couple things that we want to give an extra boost to, if it's something new, something exciting that my audience hasn't seen before. But I wouldn't like pay to promote every single thing that you're putting out there.
Mhm.
I would have a campaign that's running more ongoing, and then if there's something every week that you want to give like an extra little boost to, you can. But that's generally what I would do, is quality over quantity every day.
And what about with launches? Like, you were mentioning you reach out to influencers that know the product, know the brand, or see where the conversations are happening. But for a company that is completely like, they don't even have any accounts open, you're starting from zero. And I don't know if you work with companies like that, but if you were to do a launch, what would be the strategy? Is it the same thing where you would just kind of start slow and do some video ads on the different platforms to see what responds best, and then just dial down on that? Or what's the strategy if you're completely at
Yeah, if you're starting from scratch, I would try to find influencers that have been in a similar space, that have like an interest in that type of product, or maybe someone that we have an established relationship with, and say, this is something new. It's really exciting. I want you to check it out first. In that case, though, it depends on how much the product is worth, because a lot of times influencers will want to get paid, or they'll want a product that's worth, at least a
Mhm.
couple $100s. So you have to keep in mind, if you can't give them something that's worth a dollar amount, that you might have to pay them a dollar amount for the content. But it's okay to go with smaller micro influencers or even nano influencers, as long as they're in the space that you're interested in. So I would try to find people that are talking about content that's similar, and say, we're so excited that we found you because we have this new exciting product now. And actually, I did recently launch a company, and what was one of the differentiators, it's a furniture company, beautiful products. One of the differentiators is that they could ship in 2 days. So
Mm.
we would go and we would talk to people, and we would say, listen, you have an amazing interior design space. We would love to feature our furniture in your space. You can pick from any of these collections. What's awesome that we've noticed that's a little different from, and this happened to me during COVID. I tried to order a couch and it wasn't going to get delivered till 8 months later. So we're like, one thing that's amazing, super easy to assemble. Anyone can put it together. It arrives in 2 days. And we were introducing this new brand that no one else really knew about. And it got really well received. And we were able to get a really, well, an influencer that had, I believe she had about 400,000 followers. She just thought the line was beautiful, and once she like set it up and put it together and created some video, we've been able to work with her a little more long term on some other lines. But yeah, it's just really, I know it's just hard because it's about finding the right people, but spending the time to find people that are really interested in what you're talking about and looking at what they've done in the past, if you don't have anything that you have like going on currently, like looking back at what they've done with their other content, reaching out to them, seeing if they would be interested, trying to show them, why it's exciting, why it's different. And then, being open to them saying that they might want to get paid, or, having those back and forth conversations, and you might want to have a bit of a budget, especially if it's something new. But it's definitely doable. I mean, I've done it before. It's just about having those conversations with them.
And with the content that they produce, the UGC, is that something that you're taking from them and posting as original content on the page, or you're getting them to post and promote on their platform to get their audience involved, or a combination of both? And how does paid advertising get involved in that whole process?
Yeah, so it depends. So that's a good point. This is another page that I'm thinking of that we set up as a new account. And one thing that we realized is we wanted a lot more video, but we wanted someone to kind of be the face of the brand. So we found a UGC creator that was very excited, very bubbly, loved. I mean, this client works with designer glasses, so she was very excited about the product, very into fashion. So we worked out a contract with her so that we were getting multiple videos a week. And she's actually now the face of the brand. So when you visit the page, we're posting, from our page, all her content, and we're able to use her content in advertising. But on the other side, on this same brand account, we also work with influencers. So what we do with them is we try to, again, like work with them more than a one-off if we can. And we do get them to sign an agreement that says that we're able to use their content in advertising. However, there are a lot of influencers nowadays that will want to charge you more if you're going to feature them in ads. So that's something that we've been noticing in the last couple of years, is they're fine with tagging you on social, and you sharing and cross promoting. But now, like, there usually is a bit more of a budget if you want to use those videos in your ads.
Mm, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And final question. There's a lot of buzz and noise right now around TikTok Shop. It's new. Anybody who claims to be an expert, they're still developing. So it's like everybody has been, kind of using it not for that long. So, what's your experience with TikTok Shop? And is it really, is it really worth the hype? I guess is the question.
I think it really depends on the product and on the brand, because I have a lot of people that I work with and everyone wants to be on TikTok, but it's not necessarily right for every brand. Like, you have to have someone, or you have to have some sort of an angle that's going to be very entertaining, that's going to get someone to stop scrolling and look at your product or your service. So on that side of things, I think TikTok can be amazing. Obviously, you can go very viral on TikTok, but I don't think it works for every product and brand. I think that you have to have a real face behind the company, or hire like a UGC content creator that's, very engaging and very entertaining, that can help you sell your products on TikTok and on the TikTok shop. I don't think it's for everyone or for everything.
Okay, so that's also very heavily kind of UGC based, right? Like you need really
Yeah, and
creative.
I mean, I'm a sucker for TikTok shop because I have bought things on there, and my brother too. I know he got us all the really comfy like cloud slippers, and I ordered, what did I order? It was those ads were following me everywhere, but it was all content creators that were getting a commission based off of their video. So it's really getting real people that were using the products, to order them. But I ordered, what is it called? Guru Nanda's mouthwash or something. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And it sounded, well, you're into like all natural stuff. So it was like coconut with mint and it sounded nice. And I thought about it and I was like, yeah. And then I forgot about it. But it was, then they kept on retargeting me with a million ads. And then I finally ordered it. So, um, yeah, I know. I do think if you have enough content creators making video more passionately about it, it can work. But I don't believe the hype that it's for everybody, because it's not. It has to be like engaging video content, and it has to be something that you can be excited to talk about, and have other people excited to talk about for it to work well on TikTok.
Yeah, makes sense. Amazing. I think we're at time.
Okay.
So yeah.
I see
Well,
Ian in the comments, and Ian is how Pasha and I met. So, hey, Ian,
hey Ian.
thanks for watching. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah. Hey Ian. Yeah, me and Ian worked a little bit back in the day. I mean, he's a social media pro too. We should get him on here
He
too.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he
And
should be a guest.
he's a world traveler as well. I know he's been to like,
Yeah.
every country on earth. So
Well, now I saw this on social, but I think he settled down in Brazil. So
ah,
that's where his new home base is. Yeah.
very nice. Awesome.
Awesome.
Steph, thank you for the
Thank you
time
so much.
sharing your history, nuggets of wisdom, what's working, what's not working. And hope to have you on the show again sometime in the future. And yeah, really excited. This is the first episode, and look forward to many more. So thanks for
Awesome. Yes.
everybody who
Congrats on
watched.
the first episode. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so we'll catch
Okay.
everybody soon in the future episodes. Wishing everybody a great day. Bye.